الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Karaganya from Ummah.ca.k, and today we have a special guest. I'm here with Absar Kazmi, the author and illustrator of the life of the Ahmad Family Comics. So,
yes, Jazakumullahu khairan wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's good to be here.
Oh, good to have you. Tell us about yourself. Let's begin there, inshallah.
Okay, maybe we can begin right at the beginning.
Okay.
Okay, well, my background is I was born in Pakistan, and at a very young age we moved from Pakistan, and so we moved around a lot during my youth. We stayed in various countries. We stayed in Kenya, we lived in the West Indies, we lived in the Bahamas, we lived in the US, that's my that's part of my youth, and so all my schooling was done in various places, various countries. As far as professionally, I'm a freelancer. I'm a freelance content developer. Okay, that includes writing content for websites, managing blogs, writing for blogs. I also do illustrations. I do illustrations for children's books. So I've done 4 or 5 children's books for a well-known Islamic books publisher. It's called International Islamic Publishing House, IIPH. So yeah, I do children's illustration, and I also have this comic, Life with the Ahmad Family, which I started about almost 3 years ago. Almost 3 years ago, we started Life with the Ahmad Family. So this is one thing that is very close to my heart, which I do. Yep.
Okay. Now, we obviously host the comic on our site on a weekly basis. Could you tell us a bit more about it? I mean, what it's about, the characters, just a brief summary.
Okay, let me tell you basically how the comic began. So it didn't begin as a comic. Okay, what basically happened was several years ago, I had an idea for a story. I was actually sleeping. Actually, I should say I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep at night, and I had an idea about a book while I was awake at night, about a little boy whose name is Jamal, and he just has a really bad day. Okay, he just has a really bad day. So basically, my idea was, he's going to have a bad day, and then it's going to turn into a worse day, and then it's going to turn into a abominable day, and then it's going to take a horrible day. So this is what what my idea. Yeah, exactly. So I actually sat down at that time, and I wrote a lot of this book at that time. At night. I couldn't sleep, so I went and I started writing this book. And then a few weeks later, I found out about an international story writing competition that's being held by a well-known Islamic book publisher in the UK. And so hey, I said, why not enter the story into that competition? And I called it Jamal's Bad Time Tale. Actually, no, I called it Bad Time Tale. At that time, a bad time tale about this boy called Jamal, and I entered it into that competition. And lo and behold, alhamdulillah, I won first place in that competition. Yeah, about this boy called Jamal. And once I'd won first place, then I was like, okay, what do I do now? I'd really love to publish this book, but I was like, who's gonna buy a book about some random boy named Jamal, by some random author, who nobody really knows. So then I basically, I just sat on the idea. I didn't really know what to do, so I just, the idea just was sitting on my hard drive, going nowhere. And then towards the end of 2011, there's a well-known Islamic magazine, Islamic Family Magazine. It's called HIPAA Magazine. It's based out of Pakistan, and HIPAA Magazine approached me because they knew that I do illustrations and stuff like that. So HIPAA Magazine approached me and they said, we want you to develop some sort of a character to attract, you know, more of the youth towards our magazine. So at that time I wasn't really sure what to do, and then eventually I started thinking that, hey, you know, maybe there's a way I could merge these two ideas. This book that I have called Bad Time Tale, I can, you know, take it and use this character Jamal, you know, and develop him and develop, you know, his family a little bit more, and introduce it for HIPAA kids. So I worked on that and I developed this family. You know, this comic is called Life with the Ahmad Family. And this is where the idea basically came up. So basically the Ahmad family, it consists of Jamal, you know, who is sort of like the main character, right? A lot of the comic revolves around the life of Jamal, right? There's Jamal, there's his little baby sister Maryam, okay? She has a secret identity, okay? She's also Supermar, okay? She's Maryam during the day, and then whenever there's trouble, she turns into Supermar, right? And she's like defender of the Ahmad family household. Usually she's defending the house against the cat, whose name is Fuzzball, you know, who sometimes has like, he's trying to do like, he's trying to mess around, do naughty things, and so she's defending the household against Fuzzball. And then there's the father, his name is Abdullah, but we call him Abu Jamal usually, right? But his friends call him Abdullah, right? And there's the mother Jamal, whose actual name is Fatima, right? So this is the main Ahmad family. You know, there's the four characters, and then there's the cat Fuzzball. So this is basically the family, Ahmad family, and what I try and do with this family, okay, one of the main objectives that I had with this family, which you know I thought up at that time. I want to use this family because it's a practicing Muslim family. You know, mashallah, the mother does hijab. You know, the father, he's, you know, he adheres to the sunnah as well. And what I wanted to basically do with this family, the Ahmad family, is to show, look, practicing Muslims have a life. Practicing Muslims are not one-dimensional characters, right? Because one of the things that I noticed in many quote-unquote Islamic children's books or Islamic stories, right, is that the characters just talk about a very limited amount of things. It gives you the impression that, okay, religious people, this is all that they ever talk about, right? It's all about, did you do Quran today? Did you memorize your du'as today? Did you pray today? No, there's other things that, you know, religious people do as well. You know, you can practice your religion and have a life as well. So this is what I wanted to do, to portray with the Ahmad family. Look, you know, these are practicing Muslims, and there's all sorts of stuff going on in their lives. So besides the, you know, pure you know, religious quote-unquote things that are happening in their lives, you know, you have comics which have very little to do with religion, okay? So you have a comic where Jamal is struggling with playing football, right? He's having trouble with his kicks in football, so his father's like, let me help you with your
I've
kicks.
read that one.
So he's, you know, you know, Jamal, you know, he helps Jamal with his kicks in football, and we let the audience, you know, if they've read it,
gotta look at that one. It's funny.
So it's life with the Ahmad family. We're talking about you know, what goes on in the lives of an average practicing Muslim family. One other thing that I feel I should point out is that I specifically wanted to avoid these comics being too preachy.
Right.
Okay. I personally I don't like being lectured. Okay. I don't like it when somebody's trying to shove the deen down my throat.
You must do this. You must.
Yeah, exactly. Or, you know, oh, you know, look at you, or blah blah blah. So I try my best to avoid making the comics very preachy, or lecturing people. You know, it's basically done in a subtle manner. Right. The lesson or moral is given or I try and give it in a very, very subtle manner where nobody feels that somebody is preaching.
You said you've been working for 3 years now.
Almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years. Alhamdulillah. Again, I'd like to, in this interview, I'd like to really appreciate HIPAA Magazine. It is HIPAA Magazine is the one who gave the Ahmad family the platform
to grow.
Otherwise, I would have probably been sitting on my computer, going nowhere.
Right.
So, alhamdulillah.
If 3 years it's a long time. Do you have any idea who your audience is? Where they're from? How old they are? Just general idea of.
Yeah. So this is something actually very interesting as well. So initially, of course, our idea was that this comic is going to be primarily for young kids.
Okay.
Probably
Preteen.
preteen
Right.
kids. Probably around the ages 9, 10, 11, 12. This was the idea that and this was who I was focusing on when I was working on the comics. Interestingly enough, when after the Facebook page, and basically we post the comics to a Facebook page. You can find it on Facebook, Ahmad Family Comics. So after some time went by, and we looked at the Facebook page, the insights of the Facebook page, to see who's actually reading the comics, who are actually our fans. It turned out actually that the biggest category of people who are reading our comics are actually women between the ages of 18 and 35.
Oh.
It's actually young women who are reading the comic, which was like so I'm not complaining, but but hey, but it's not actually who we had initially targeted the comic for. But alhamdulillah, asked a few people, why is it that this is the audience? Why not young men? Why not young men between the ages of 18 and 35? And the answer, the most common answer I got, interestingly, is because hey, men don't like to read. Men do not like to read.
Speaking of that, obviously, I'm sure initially you were quite popular in Pakistan, and now we have the Kenyan markets through Ummah.co.ke, who's getting an opportunity to read the comic.
Right.
Anywhere else in the world, maybe fans are coming from?
Right. So, alhamdulillah, first of all, it's good to know, and again, I'd like to really appreciate Ummah, Ummah.co.ke for helping promote the comic in Kenya. So, mashallah, slowly but surely, the word is spreading in Kenya. It's very interesting that now and then we do get requests on our Facebook page. People send us messages. Please let me translate your comic. Please let me. I really think these comics are very beneficial. Just recently, a sister from Thailand, she contacted me and said, please let me translate your comics in Thai. There's a couple of Brazilian Reverb sisters. I think they're Reverb sisters, who contacted us some months ago and said, please let us translate these into Portuguese. There's a sister, mashallah, who is well known to us, and she's Latvian. She's Latvian, and she runs a Latvian website, and she's been translating the comic for over a year now, and posting it on this Latvian website for Muslims, for the Muslim community in Latvia. And it's really heartening to know that just recently one of the comics got the highest number of views on that website, meaning all the content on that website. This one comic of Life with the Ahmad Family, translated into Latvian, was the most popular. So alhamdulillah, the word is slowly but surely it's spreading. I deliberately try and do the comics so that at least many of the comics are relevant. The lesson of the moral is general, that you don't have to be a Muslim to get some benefit from this particular comic. So alhamdulillah, sometimes you also get people who are non-Muslim, who appreciate the comic. But of course, you understand that the vast majority of the audience is going to be more than likely practicing Muslims. But so it's slowly but surely, alhamdulillah, the readership is increasing. Alhamdulillah for that.
That's good to hear. Can you describe the production process from writing the script, drawing to release? I mean, how does that, the typical week, is it comes weekly, bi-weekly?
Yeah, so basically we post two comics a week. One is a proper like comic with at least 6 to 10 frames, okay, and then so that usually I post that usually on Sunday or Monday, okay, and then there's another one that I usually post around Thursday. We call that a one-liner. Okay, it's called a one-liner. It's basically, it consists of 1 or 2 frames, where it's usually Jamal and Omar giving a lesson. Sometimes Jamal
well,
giving her deep thoughts on. Sometimes Abu Jamal, with something quirky. Okay. So this is we post it basically twice a week. The production process is it's fairly simple. The part of the production process which takes the longest is figuring out what to do. Okay. Is figuring out there's a comic due on Monday. It's not like I have comics lined up from before. I do other stuff as well. So when I post the comic on Sunday or Monday, that means that 5 minutes before I've just completed work on the comic. So the bulk of the time is actually spent figuring out what am I gonna write about. Okay, it usually has to do, look at the time of the year, because there are many factors that go into it. Okay, it's not about only the theme or the time of year. I also need to make sure that the other factors are met, right? So for example, there should be a nice moral lesson in there. It shouldn't be too preachy. Okay, there should be some level of humor in it. Okay, so I have to get, and it should be something which is relevant to most people. Okay, so I try and keep all of these things in mind. So and so that punch must be there. That punchline must be there within 6 to 8 frames, and there should be something meaningful in there as well. So so basically I write down what on Notepad. Basically I write down what that comic is going to be about. And right after that, then I use Photoshop. Okay, I have some templates of the comic that I use. Okay,
and I think he'll show us that a bit later.
I'll show you some of that, inshallah. So I have some ready-made templates, and I use Photoshop to draw the comic. And once the comic, first after I've done the script of the comic, the storyboard, I usually show it to my wife. Okay, like as an unbiased sort of individual. What do you think? Okay, do you think it works? And then she usually has her input. I think that'll be that'll be too strong. Maybe you need to tone it down a little bit. Or she says, look, I don't think this character would say something like that, because the characters have their personalities of theirs as well. Okay, and once it's drawn, I just usually show it to my wife one more time, for last minute, as any adjustments or anything that need to be made, or I just go and post it on Facebook. So this is the entire production process. It's not very complex. The most difficult part is coming up with
the actual content that's going in.
The actual content. Everything else is pretty. And this is why we actually encourage our viewers and the people who are watching this interview. We encourage to give us ideas. Hey, give us good ideas. What do you think? What else should we talk about? Which would be beneficial to others? Yeah. Okay. So assalamu alaikum. So this is just a small demonstration of how I draw some characters of the Ahmad family. So just before we start, just for your information, I use a specific tool for illustrating. This is called a bamboo tablet. Okay, it's from the company Wacom, and it's called the Bamboo. And this is what I use for illustration. So it makes illustrating much easier than just using your mouse. And I already have a little template set up, and I use this particular template to do the one-liners of the Ahmad family. So I'm just gonna show you quickly how I draw a few of the characters. So this is me. I'm just going to show our viewers a little bit about how I go about illustrating for the Ahmad Family one-liners. And so I have my template ready. This is the template that I usually use for the one-liners that I do on a weekly basis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a short, very brief conversation between Umar and Jamal, who are of course two of the most popular characters from life with the Ahmad family. Finished coloring the background of Umar's head, the white edges which are left over. Now I'm going to color his shirt, and Umar wears a red shirt. Okay, so there's a good enough red color for Umar's shirt. I'm just doing this very quickly. I'm not I can't do this in very much detail right now, so I'm just gonna color in the white spaces that are left over of his shirt. There we go. Each box for Jamal. There we go. Alrighty, and we're almost done. I'll just give a little bit of background color, and there it is. Yeah, there it is. Hope you enjoyed watching me illustrate. This is how I do the illustrations for Life with the Ahmad Family, and this is how I do the drawings. And if you have any questions or comments, please write to me on the Facebook page for the Ahmad Family, and inshallah we'll talk to you soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
So Absar, what do you love most about the book? Just joy and
okay, well, as far as doing Life with the Ahmad Family is concerned, I mean, my favorite part about the work, actually there's several favorite parts about the work. One thing is because, well, I'm doing my background, actually my degree, my university degree is actually in electrical engineering.
Okay.
I'm doing illustrations. Okay. So because I love doing illustrations since I was a little kid, 4 or 5 years old. I mean, I just got into illustrations, and my dream, believe it or not, my dream as a little kid was I want to do comic books.
Oh,
okay, but of course, one thing led to another, and you're told no, you're not gonna, what kind of way to make a living is that? Blah blah blah. Coming back to the Ahmad Family, it gave me an opportunity to really do that thing,
explore that passion of
exactly, do that thing which I really love, and at the same time contribute to society. Okay, because one of the main objectives of this is to provide good morals. Of course, it's not. I try and make it, I try not to make it preachy, but the idea is, to inculcate good morals in the people reading it. To encourage people to amr bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar, basically, right? To command what is good and forbid what is evil, which is a fard upon every single Muslim. This is my way of doing amr bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar. It really gives me a sense of fulfillment. You know what the best part about it is when somebody writes in, because of course you're getting comments at underneath each comic as well. When they say, what, reading your comic brought a tear to my eye. That just subhanallah, that just does it.
Allah accept the efforts.
These are the things, that there's this lady who wrote to me a little while back, and she's just, my parents are going through a hard time, and it cheers them up when I read my comics to them. So, these sorts of things, subhanallah.
You don't expect something.
Exactly. So that all of these things together just really helps me to enjoy the work that I'm doing.
Now you spoke about how the whole Kazmi family, they inspire a lot of what goes into the comic. What other source of inspiration? You said you grew up different parts of the world. What would you say are there some places, some specific incidents growing up that you feel translate into the comic now in your work?
Well, yeah, in the sense that there are definitely some individuals in the comics who are taken from people
who you met in real life.
Who I met in real life. So the maths teacher, Mr. Nichols, his name is Mr. Nichols. He's been there in 2 or 3 of the comics. Mr. Nichols. He was actually my math teacher.
Oh, same name as well?
Yeah, same name.
Okay. Didn't know about the comic.
No,
I should let him know about it. Just Mr. Nichols.
One of these days. Maybe I will write and be that guy. I remember you. You're the guy who failed most of the exams in my class. No, maybe I will. So Mr. Nichols is actually my math teacher in 9th and 10th grade. He was my math teacher. Sensei Jamil. Who's appeared in a couple of the comics. He was my actual sensei. He taught me jujitsu for several years. So he's actually based on Sensei Jamil. Jamal. Jamal she's a very strong woman. Jamal. She's and this is something which I deliberately did in order to get away from the conventional or the mainstream. That was just too mainstream. Right? To get away from that mainstream portrayal of Muslim women that they're subjugated, or they're not allowed to voice they're not allowed to voice their opinion. Jamal is a very strong woman. She's not afraid to voice her opinion. She's very proud of who she is, and to some extent she's actually based on my wife, believe it or not. Not fully, but to some extent. So these are many of the people who influence the comic during the time of the comic.
Which was your favorite place growing up actually?
My favorite place growing up was Kenya.
Kenya.
Yeah, my favorite place.
You're not just saying that for the audience.
No, seriously. I always used to look back. And I always used to remember Kenya because of the natural beauty. I was always a nature fanatic since a very young age. I loved animals. Actually, my passion for illustrations it started by drawing animals. I used to go on safari in Kenya, and the first thing that I used to do when I came back is try and draw all the animals that I saw. So the whole time when I was on safari anywhere, the whole time I was spending observing the animals, what they look, how do they run. So anyway, because of all of that, actually Kenya was my favorite place. Was my favorite place growing up. I especially also try and address. I don't try and address fiqh issues in the comic, right? That why are your hands over here? I try and rather focus on moral issues, which I feel are more which are affecting the Muslim community more. So I try and address these moral issues. That how can you claim to be a good Muslim, whereas you're doing these things for.
Do you have a favorite character?
Yes. Okay. So my own favorite character. Of course, the comic was initially when it started. It was based around this character of Jamal.
Yeah.
But you know what? As far as my favorite character is concerned, it would probably have to be Abu Jamal. It would probably have to be Abdullah.
Okay.
One of the reasons being, I feel that because I myself, I'm a father, I'm a husband,
Right.
And so I'm able to
Relate.
better, exactly. I'm able to better relate to Abdullah or Abu Jamal.
Yeah.
And this is why I feel that Abu Jamal's character is actually the most well developed.
I see.
Okay,
Because you understand him.
I sort of understand his position in many cases. And Abu Jamal, because he's an average guy. Okay, Abu Jamal is like the nice guy.
Right,
okay, he's like the nice, funny guy.
Right.
Okay, and he's a practicing. He's a Muslim, and he's a good father. But this is his thing. He's like the funny. He's a light-hearted sort of individual of the family. And this is why I'm able to somehow relate to him as well.
Because honestly, to me, it sounds like you're describing yourself. How light-hearted, a nice guy. So
it's not exactly the same
really
thing.
You,
it's
but
not exactly the same thing, but to some extent, of course, Abu Jamal is an exaggeration.
Right,
but to some extent, I can relate to him. Abu Jamal also has certain things he struggles with, right? For like eating is a big struggle for Abu Jamal. He has problems.
I've seen a few of those fitness
exactly.
as well.
Yeah, so Abu Jamal, so this is why he's actually one of the most developed characters. Of course, as time goes on, I'm going to experiment with the other characters, put them in different situations and see how they react. But Abu Jamal is probably the one I've experimented with most.
Absar, Jazakallah khair.
Really appreciate Jazakallah khair for your time. I really appreciate this opportunity. And hope many people come and check out our Facebook page.
They will. In fact, you can contact Absar through the Facebook page, Life with the Ahmad Family. We'll put the links again in the description, and we really had a lot of fun. Go ahead and check it out on our site, ummah.co.ke, and like their Facebook page, like our Facebook page, all the links will be in the description. So see you soon, inshallah.
Inshallah.
We had some good coffee, by the way. So I don't know if we're going to use it.